Hello folks, this is going to be the first installment in what will be hopefully a good, decent series of videos explaining how Rivers of the Mind came to be. I will probably save the explanation of how this series came about for another time. This episode that you listened to today on September 28th was Southern Hospitality. It was originally the fourth episode, but then I split up the episodes so it became the fifth episode. This episode, and you'll find I do this a lot, as I'm going to explain in more detail in some other, in all of the episodes, you'll find this is kind of my process for writing. So I'd gotten John into this house, and, he'd just been attacked by psychedelic mushrooms, and I was like, has it already jumped the shark? Okay. He got attacked by mushrooms. And, I was like, he's in the house now. Jerry wasn't originally supposed to be a major character at all. Jerry introduced himself to me in that moment, and I think John was, and I was a little bit intimidated by him, and we felt, both of us, I guess myself in particular, because I am the author, felt a little bit of an odd suspicion of him, and really never expected that John would stay there at that house. At all in any capacity. But I figured that the series, the way I was envisioning it, had kind of a Monster of the Week vibe to it, which is something I wanted to avoid from the outset. I wanted him to kind of build up a friendship and to see what it was like, or at least to just explore this character of Jerry and see how we could help him, because he was a very lonely old man, and as I was writing the last few lines of Lords of the Field, it just really became super apparent to me. Jerry's very lonely, and as I was writing that, and I realized what he was going through, I actually really did cry, and I still cry when I listen to that, because that's the kind of thing that never happens in real life. You never get to know what someone's going through. That's something that he actually got to know. John has a unique ability to know someone's baggage that they're bringing into something, someone's emotional attachment to something. That's what makes him kind of unique, and I'll explore more, but he really is meant to be extolling the virtues of compassion rather than punching people in the face to solve your problems. He just came into the house, and Jerry offered him a place to stay. That whole scene with the shower, kind of, because I was really like, what happens next? What happens next? And I was like, what does he do? He's gonna take a shower, and so he did, and he took a shower. And I thought about this one time I was in the shower, and I got really depressed. I was on like a new antidepressant, and I was like, I hate life, and I like had that serotonin sickness where you're like, everything sucks. And then I like noticed like, hey, there's something annoying me that's not anything to do with anything I'm depressed about. It's the shower. It's the shower head. I like tightened it, and I was like, everything is happier. So I had John go through that same thing, although it's magnified. It's like turned up to 11 because he's on LSD. And that's kind of what that does. Kinda. I don't want to simplify something as vast and complicated as that into it turns everything up to 11. That's not what it does. And you shouldn't think that's what it does. But anyway, he does that. He like turns the shower head off, and the day is saved. He regains his sanity. But it does give you a window into something that's actually going on in him, because it covers a while ago. He experiences a lot of different things at once, just like a normal person does. It's just he's aware of it all at once. So this process that's in his mind that he's never coming back is coming to the forefront. And this whole episode is him like realizing he's totally alienated from normal life. He's been kind of cast out because of what happens to him. And in that sense, it's almost like a disease. You know, it's almost like any mental illness. Um, he really can't see the world the same way. He really can't have a normal conversation. He finds that out. But I think through this episode, he finds a place for himself there. And I think that as he gets to know Jerry, really, as I personally got to know Jerry, I think it humanizes the character. Now, honestly, one of the objectives of this show is that none of the characters leave without being humanized, although that's something that I make problematic and I deconstruct. You can tell I'm a history major that I said that. I make problematic and I deconstruct it as the show goes on. He gets to know Jerry. That's essentially what happens. You have to listen to the episode. That's what was going through my mind, though, as this was happening. As this whole episode was unfolding, was it was taking it in a turn that I hadn't necessarily planned out. And it almost felt like, you know, this whole motif of the river, it felt like we reached a lake and there were just endless possibilities. That's kind of what happened. Recording this episode was like really a breeze, except for one or two parts. The shower scene itself was terribly hard to record, especially once I realized what it sounded like. Because the way that John talks, LSD's a vasoconstrictor. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some people listening who don't know that much about LSD. LSD is a derivative of ergine, or the ergot fungus, and it is a vasoconstrictor. That's what the Saint Anthony's fire, I think it's called, ergotism. That's what it does. It vasoconstricts you. You die. You like get gangrene in all of your limbs. And if anyone ever tries Hawaiian Baby Woodrose, which I do not recommend, you have a lot of vasoconstriction. It happens with coffee. It happens with a lot of different things. But it's intensified for him. And I have to get a lot of tension in my voice for him to function. And as I record these episodes, I'm doing it in the dark, in this studio here. So I can get in character and I can let John's character sort of come to inhabit me, I guess is how you put it. I am a method actor. Not that kind of method actor, but I'm a method actor, kind of. So I like to get in the mood, and I like to kind of hear it. But when I listened back to it, I realized, oh my god, his voice cuts in and out all the time, and I can't hear what he's saying. And putting the shower over that was dreadful, and I had to compress it like 500 times. Sorry. It's a learning process. It's all a learning process. But to do the sound for that, I actually took my shower in my apartment. I ran the shower, and I unscrewed the thing before I did the shower head, so that you had the annoying squeaking noise that forever ago had annoyed me in a completely different apartment building, and I was like, yes, that's terrible, and I like recorded it. I had my little iPad up next to the shower, and I'm like, get the sound, and I got the sound, and I put it in, and I like had to time it out because I used the looper, and I just timed it out so that everything fit, and I thought it worked, kinda. I thought it worked. You can listen for yourself and kind of see. This is my adventures in practical sound effects. I really didn't do that much sound effects for anything before this. Everything before this was, I mean, basically an audiobook, and I was really taking advantage of this medium to publish an audiobook without being constrained by length or like a publisher or an editor or anything. Like, I just wanted to write something for me personally that would be exactly the way I wanted it to be. So I did it. That's what this is. Oh my gosh. My back. I am too sedentary. But anyway. Other parts that were difficult to record. Jerry's voice Every single line that Jerry speaks, I read at least 5 times. Because I really didn't want him to be a Southern stereotype. My accent's kind of like this. I got around that in the actual final mix by pitching him down 2 steps. So he goes down like this, and I slowed him down a little bit so he sounds older. I kind of tend to talk a little bit too fast. I actually slowed down this episode a few times, the whole episode. But Jerry got slowed down especially. All just sort of fun behind the scenes facts for you guys to know. If you enjoy the show, be sure to check it out on Patreon. If you do not enjoy the show, not my problem. But I'm sorry that you did not enjoy it. Maybe try again next week when we have another episode. I don't know. Yeah. Support us on Patreon if you like the show. If you don't like the show, like I said, I guess you don't support us on Patreon. So, and yeah, as low as $1 a month, it really makes a difference just keeping the show up. I'm going to try to get some practical sound effects together, and I'm going to have to build stuff. So any kind of money for plywood that I don't have to put on my credit card is great. There's going to be more videos like this, hopefully with every episode. This is right after like one of my only classes, so I'm always really tired. But I'm also always really talkative, because I've been talking the whole time. So yeah. This has been talking about my audio drama with Timmy Vilgiotti. September 28th.